And I think but I would just like to offer somebody else having a chance at acknowledging countries. So would somebody else like to take on that? Yeah, thanks, John.
Yeah, I want to acknowledge the original custodians of Australian land who have suffered terrible indignity and dispossession over a 200-year period. And despite that, continue to be generous and open-hearted in offering friendship and acceptance and fellowship with people that were invaders of their country. So I really want to acknowledge them and the foundation that they've provided for Extinction Rebellion and others to build on their successful custodianship of this land over, well, time immemorial, or what, 60,000 years plus that's going. And I don't think this is a token talk of respect. Indigenous people need to be and will be an integral part of whatever XR does with citizens' assemblies and with future leadership around climate change. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, John. And I often also like to just acknowledge that the emergency that we're in. And so I'll just give you this feel that I normally say for that, which is that I'd like to acknowledge that we are in a climate and ecological emergency, and that our actions today and every day impact the habitability of our planet for ourselves and for generations to come. I'd like to acknowledge that First Nations people have been on the front line of that emergency since colonization. And I'd like to acknowledge all of you for taking time out of your day to address this emergency. So thank you so much for being here and continuing to support. Yeah. Here's our purpose statement again. Tanya, can you read it out for us?
Sure. Let us take a moment, this moment, to consider why we are here. Let us recall our love for the whole of humanity in all corners of the world. Let us remember our love for this beautiful planet that feeds, nourishes, and sustains all life. Let us recollect our sincere desire to protect all this for now and for generations to come. As we act today, may we find the courage to bring this sense of peace and appreciation to everyone we encounter, to every word we speak, and to every action we take. In this emergency, together, rooted in love, we are all crew. We are all we need. May it be so.
May it be so. Thank you, Tanya. Okay, so this presentation is, I call it from HFE to Wave 3, or as it was called in Mobilization, which is starting up a new group. And so the idea of this training is to just give you an idea of what it looks like to take a group from their very first interaction with Extinction Rebellion at a Heading for Extinction and What to Do About It talk, all the way through to us getting our demands met. Woohoo! Okay, so from baby, never been a rebel before, through to a rebel for life. The idea with this is an amazing woman. She's an Iranian ninja. And she says, yeah, the idea is that, you know, we are in this, obviously the system that we have is broken, and that we have to be constantly flexible with our resistance, but we definitely must keep resisting our current trajectory. You may have seen this in the earlier training, but just for benefit. So the idea is that we start a local group, or an affinity group, and each of those groups should be doing an action every 3 to 6 months, just on something in their local area. And that's what we call Wave 1. And we do things like Civil Disobedience Saturdays, which I'll show you a video of. And then we have our Wave 2 actions, which are where we all converge for a day on a state capital, and we block a bridge or we block a road, and we have those mass participation, beautiful festivals. And then we move into Wave 3 actions, which are more long-term sustained mass participation. And when those Wave 3 actions end up tens of thousands of people for a significant period of time, that's when the government actually come to us and they say, what are your demands? We need our city back. please give us our city back. And then at that point we say, okay, great, we've got 3 demands. And so this is a really effective tactic. When in Melbourne last year, we held down Melbourne City for a week, causing disruption every day. Before that, yeah, it was so fun. Before that happened, I was the one liaising with council and with the police. We met with them every week leading up to that, just to establish those communications and the ground rules. And before the week before the rebellion, I said, okay, so do you know what our demands are? And they go, yeah, of course we know your demands. I was like, well, what are they? And they were like, oh, I'm not going to tell you. And so I laid down our demands to them. And then coming into Autumn Rebellion, the first thing that the council said when we sit down for this liaison before the rebellion was, okay, so your 3 demands are this, and this is what we've done. And so this economic disruption is really key, and this sustained economic disruption is really key. The largest one-day march was about not going to Iraq war, and obviously, you know, everybody went out for the day and said no war, and then they all went home, and the government was like, okay, cool, thank God that's over, let's go to war. And so it's really got to be this sustained pressure that we are looking at. And this is all very much part of it. But if you think that if we have this wave 1 here, if we have hundreds of local groups all around the country doing these local actions every month, that is a huge amount of disruption. And so, yeah, just sort of getting into context, and that also allows us to see where we're at as a rebellion and flexing that courage muscle. You saw this one earlier. So one of our big learnings from last rebellion was that when we set up a local group, the original format was just to give, like, you know, 6 different kind of groups that they could join within a local group, and it was just all too overwhelming. And so now when we set up a local group, we say, okay, you have twin focus. You have actions, civil disobedience, and mobilization, growing the movement. So those are your twin tasks that you focus on. And those 2 things are supported by arts, because we are a beautiful rebellion, and arts is de-escalatory, and it's engaging, and it helps us get our message out. You know, when I glued on inside the IPC, I could have written bushfire across my chest, but that's definitely not as effective as painting myself in flames. So art is a really important part of the movement, and also regen is a really important part of the movement, because if we burn out, you know, we need to be able to sustain our actions. And so those 2 groups are really important as well. So this is your main spread of a local group, and it just really simplifies it down for you all. So just to reiterate, twin tasks: growth and civil disobedience. So I'm going to give you all a fun little video to watch.
G'day, I'm Andy. I'm a mass mobiliser with Extinction Rebellion, trying to create a mass movement across Australia that's going to get our 3 demands met and a safe future for our children and us. So what we're doing today in this video is showing you how to do a local civil disobedience action. Today we're going to be doing a road swarm here in a country town called Taree, which is similar to many other towns across Australia. This can happen anywhere, it's up to you. So the things that you need to do this is, you start by looking at some of our action recipes. You come up with an action plan that suits you. You set your date of when you want to do the action. You might want to consider doing these on Saturdays and coordinating with all other groups around the country. Then what you have to do is you assign roles. You need people to hold banners, you need a COVID marshal, you need a police liaison, people to do live stream, people to talk to the public and invite them in to join the rebellion. Then you need to meet up a few times, maybe 3 times is how often we've met up. After the action, you rest, you celebrate, and you get ready to do another action. The aim is to do actions every 3 to 6 weeks. And the more you do it, the easier it is, and the more fun it is, and the more our movement grows, so we can actually get our demands met. Remember, civil disobedience is the appropriate response to this government that is failing to protect us and is corrupted by fossil fuels and corporate interests.
Civil disobedience!
Okay, so now I want to sort of talk to you all and ask you this question. What makes you feel empowered? Because this is something that comes up over and over again, is how do we get people from this place of like engaging with the rebellion on coming to their actions, but maybe not necessarily taking on tasks that, you know, are like making a banner or one of those internal, external coordinators or something like that. So I just want to do a whip around and say, you know, if someone's asking you to take on a task, or if you know, want to engage with something, what are some things that you can share with this group, because it's the sharing learning space, that will help people empower people? Does that make sense? So would somebody like to share something that makes them feel empowered?
I think like, you know, when we're out in the streets and then when you start doing a chant and everyone joins in, that feels really good. I've done Power to the People a few times and it, you know, I dream about it. It's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. So chanting makes us feel empowered, and especially chants that are about people power. Excellent. That's so good. What else makes us feel empowered? Yeah, John?
Finding yourself doing something you never imagined you'd be doing.
Yeah, excellent. Bringing new expansion of our skill sets. Yeah, cool. What else have we got? What can we share? Yeah, Leslie?
I did my first postering last week with a couple of other rebels from up here at Wingecarribee, and that was great because every time I walk around now and I see my posters up still, I think, yes, the branding is important. It's good to get the, you know, the presence out there for when we're not just on the street doing our stuff.
Yeah, and one of the most powerful things about Extinction Rebellion is its branding, because that's what connects us internationally, you know, like Extinction Rebellion have such clear brand, and every time we use that Extinction Rebellion branding, we're hearkening to a global strength, which is super powerful. And also, yeah, like you say, just seeing it around. Every time I drive around and I see a Rebel sticker, I'm like, oh, we're here. And so it's like, I haven't done it. But yeah, absolutely. Seeing seeing it around. Cool. What else? What else makes us feel empowered? Yeah. Yep, Julie?
I think just building on what the other two have said, similar stuff, like actually feeling connected to people. So that a stronger sense of connectivity of spirit, if you like our deeper selves, that is not just consuming, buying a dress and, oh, you look good. It's like we're actually on a depth of our being. I hope that makes some amount of sense without being too spacey.
This is why we say to do an action within the first 3 to 6 weeks of forming a group, because it really is bonding to get there and get out in the street and be in this situation where you know, you're relying on each other, and creating those personal connections is so important for that trust of getting out in those situations. And one thing sort of on a higher level, and this is something that Jane taught me, Simon, which is that people really need people to follow. And as much as Extinction Rebellion is we sort of don't publicly try and have figureheads, because that makes the movement weak, because then you can target those specific people. On a more internal level, people follow people. And so we need to have kind of local heroes in each area that inspire everyone to do what we're doing. Yeah, and what else makes us feel inspired, empowered? Yeah.
I mean, it's a little bit connected to what Julie said, is the size of the movement, the solidarity, Even, apart from, I have never met you in person, Violet, and I've never met anyone else in this group, but this sense that there are thousands of other people who feel the same way, who are frightened. Yeah, it's powerful. It's very powerful.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Yeah. Anybody else want to add another final comment? Well, what makes me feel empowered is gratitude. When I do something and somebody really acknowledges that, I think that then encourages me to keep going again. And so this is something that's so important as an organizer. We feel like we're carrying a lot of weight. And so when people help us, that maybe, they should be thanking us or whatever, I don't know. But really, like, our job, nobody's going to thank each other unless we thank each other. And so as an organizer, the most powerful thing you can do is thank people for doing the work. Yeah. And I really am grateful. And so I'm sure you are as well when somebody picks up a little bit of work. Yeah. Okay, so we touched on it earlier in the SOS training, but I just really wanted to ground you in what the Mobilizer goals are. So as a mobilizer, we are ensuring the culture and facilitation for groups. So this is about sharing those statements. This is about sharing the fact that we are non-hierarchical. This is telling people about how mandates work and how self-organized systems work, and really decentralizing power as much as possible. We're going to be supporting local groups into an action cycle. So again, it's really setting that culture. When we first started setting up local groups, what we would do is just set them up and then let them go and be like, this is an autonomous movement, away you go. And they would be like, okay, what do we do now? So supporting groups ongoing and really staying connected with every group that you support through those external coordinators. Empowering people with the 8 methods of mobilization, so helping them connect into Call Hub, helping them connect into giving Heading for Extinction talks. And the other one is training and upskilling, so making sure that people have informed consent by getting them into a non-violent direct action training session, which is where they learn about the legals. We call that NVDA. They learn about what the repercussions of their actions are. A lot of people think that getting arrested means going to jail. A lot of the time, if you're arrested just blocking a road, it's a traffic offense. It's no more risky than speeding in terms of your personal record. And so obviously check that with your local state and all of that. But that informed consent is so important. So as a mobilizer, every state sort of has a different structure that they are working around. And so it's really important that as we know what the structure is for our state that we're mobilizing in, and we help those groups connect in with their local structures. So for example, as we said, we've really honed in on the local group being just those 4 kind of main tasks, which is, who wants to tell me what the main tasks are, the 4 groups? What are the 4 groups for a local group? Yes, Leslie.
Regen, arts, actions, mobilizing.
That's it. Good job. Okay, so they've got these 4 ones, but there's a whole bunch of other stuff like legal support, right? So legal support tends to be more on a state level or on a national level. And so there are specific floating working groups that help out with that stuff. And so we want to make sure that local groups are connected with that information. Also NVDA, like training groups, that's not in those 4 tasks, but here we are. And so we want to make sure that they're connected with their NVDA groups. The other thing is obviously First Nations. How are we going to show great solidarity if we haven't connected with our local First Nations and the land that we're on? and other allied groups is also really important because, you know, we can support each other with different things, and that's how we grow our movement as well. So being connected in and understanding that Extinction Rebellion doesn't operate in a bubble, that we are a part of a big movement, and also that within our little local group, there's also a big movement around us supporting us and utilizing those resources. So there's a manual, the Mass Mobilization Manual has methods for mobilization. It's got also action recipes. So when you want to go into action, there's a way to show you how to do that. And things that make it really easy to just fill in, like, okay, if we're going to do a roadblock, here's the tool, here's the roles that we need. It's already laid out, and then you don't have to reinvent the wheel every time you go into action, every time you go into doing mobilization. There's a Mobilizer guide. We're still kind of nutting it out. So if you want to help with that, that'd be great. But otherwise, that'll be like a more filtered down version of just what mobilizers need. Yep, there's the action recipe. So there's a mini roadblock, a die-in, flash mob, bike swarm, chalk spraying, heads in the sand, so creative art actions. Oh, and we already did this. Okay, so let's go. What are our 8 methods of mobilization? Because we've just covered it in the last one. Here's a tester. What have we got? Call them out. Come on, give me a method. Come on, you know them.
Rebel ringing.
Rebel ringing.
Yay.
Street stalls.
Goals.
Postering.
Yeah.
Yay.
Heading for extinction talks.
A heading for extinction talk.
Door knocking.
Door knocking.
Group hugs.
House parties. Backyard.
Yay. We'll count that as group hugs, okay, Daisy?
Actions.
Actions. Thank you, John. Yay, that's a good one. And last one. If I can remember it.
Social media.
Social media. Thank you.
Intentional conversations could be another one.
Oh, yeah.
Intentional conversations kind of filter through all of them, don't they? Yeah, that's like a tool within the tools. Great. Okay. The other thing that we're doing and trying to make a habit of is asking for donations, because Extinction Rebellion has zero money. We don't really ask for money, but we want to be able to support mobilizers. And we also need things like art. At the moment, I'm trying to fundraise so that I can book halls to give Heading for Extinction talks. And so, so basically, we're just trying to be a little bit more, because there's plenty of people who have money and, you know, can't do actions, but will be happy to donate. And some people are already donating to NGOs that just aren't as effective as us now, because they've been politely expressing their concern, but not doing anything else. So, yeah, they should be giving to us. As a mobilizer, we also try and have a reporting document. So this is just a way for us to see how effective that we're being and what we're up to, and for us to be able to report back to each other. I'll send a link out with this document. But basically, you know, you just put in like, I'm giving a Heading for Extinction talk here, and blah, 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 and these are the tasks, and it just can help you sort of sort out what needs to be done. And even I'd say, oh, I don't have time for all of this. Okay, I can't say yes to doing this because my list is already X long. We use a lot of platforms in Extinction Rebellion, and it is very difficult to kind of onboard everyone into everything. And the good news is that they don't need to be on everything. I would say the 2 main most important platforms for people to be on are Signal and Proton Mail. Next, after that, is Mattermost. Okay, so Mattermost will connect you with the rest of the rebellion. Signal is an encrypted chat for us to communicate with each other, and Proton Mail is an encrypted email address. So those 3 things you want to onboard people on as best you can, but otherwise, yeah. The base, who here has been on the base? Give me a little wiggle finger. Great, great. Okay, so the base has postering resources.
Yeah.
Such a good thing to have. Okay, but it's really important not to overload people. This is like the flow of our platforms. Now, the only thing that I'll flag really quickly is that a lot of us are using Google Drive and Google platforms to share information, but too many times have I seen a list of names and phone numbers with organizer next to them. And that's actually really dangerous because organizer is a key word that the police use and the law use to actually repress activists and people. So if you're going to create a list of names and numbers, I'd really like you to onboard yourself onto CryptPad. And with CryptPad, you can access that over the base. So this is a lot. I know we were going to have a tech session as part of this training, but if you need more help, we are your mentors and we're happy to walk you through all of this stuff as a one-on-one basis. But yeah, just so you know, there is encrypted ways to create documents that are shareable, and those are the places that you can put sensitive information. Okay, another really important part of being a mobilizer is recognizing that when we carry the trauma of the world, it's very easy to shoot the person who's closest to you if they're not doing something or doing something that you don't like. And just remember that we are all on the same side here and we're on the side of life and working together. And so we need to be able to do that. And so, you know, you're going to have conflict and you're going to have disagreements. There's a lot of people who are a part of this movement who have very different opinions on the world, but we're all united by our 3 demands and we're all united by our 10 principles. And those are things that we can ground ourselves in and really work on conflict resolution, transformation. And what's the other one, Cass? Conflict resolution, conflict transformation. Oh, you're muted.
Resilience.
Resilience. Oh, excellent. Good job. Okay. So yeah, we are only as strong as we trust each other. And I trust all of you. I've met you beautifully today, and I trust you all to be amazing mobilizers. And so I think that, you know, we've got to have that radical trust. We've got to have that radical trust in each other. So, okay, where are we? 205. Yes, Jenny.
Just a quick on that trust thing. I think it might have been you, Violet, who once used the expression to hold each other in unconditional positive regard. And I thought that that was just such a beautiful expression that I've really, you know, tried to take it on because it's, you know, it is like that thing of trust and extending trust.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes, John.
Oh, I sent, when I was listening to Violet, I sent a little slightly tongue-in-cheek comment like, we need to understand that love is fantastic and the feeling within XR is fantastic, but remember that love is an adventure sport. People do get hurt, and that has to be factored into your thinking. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just mean by hurt, I mean misunderstandings occur.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Okay, now, okay, so I want to show you, so on the base is this really cool map where we can see all of the people who've signed up on the rebellion and their divide up. And you could actually zoom in and find out the density of your area and how many people are in each area. And this is what we do when we go to do rebel ringing. We have a look at what areas have the dense population, and as a mobilizer, we'll go, okay, that area For example, Lismore has an incredibly dense population of rebels, and so you want to call them up and get them engaged, get them connection, get that rebel ringing going with your 8 methods of mobilization. Make sure you're working within the current structures. Okay, so now we're going to go into a role play. So, Cass, can I have people broken up into groups of 2? And what we're going to do is I want you to just go and ask the question. We're going to run the scenario that you have made up a flyer for your for the next Heading for Extinction talk that's going on. And you're going to go and ask a local business if you can put the flyer up. Really easy stuff, but just like, again, working that courage muscle, just figure out what you're going to say. I'm going to give you 2 minutes for this task, so 4 minutes in total, 2 minutes each, and let's just see how you go.
Okay, who wants to be the first group to go?
It was just, you know, I said to Leslie, my background sales, and that's what we're doing actually. You know, sales is persuasion, sales is, and what she was asking people to do was come to Heading Towards Extinction talk. And so I think, so really that's just the ask. That's the only ask. The ask is to get them there, to give them a reason to come to this talk. It's not to tell them everything about us at this stage. It's to give them enough incentive to please come to this talk. No more, no less than that. Particularly when in this situation, she'll only have a couple of minutes and it'll be the end of his talk. So people will probably be already talking among themselves. That was all I fed back, really.
Thank you. That's, yeah, to the point when you've got a couple of minutes. There's so much to say. Jenny or Tanya, I believe, who'd like to go? I'd like to share.
I'll go.
Yeah, Jenny.
And then Tanya. Yeah, I did the same. I got caught up telling the person all about XR, whereas in fact they'd already heard about them a little bit, and I should have taken that and done it. Anyway, yeah, very good. And it was, I find it easier talking on the phone and not actually having a visual there. You know, I always get my own picture of the person and talk to that picture, and that's much, yeah. Anyway, it was good. It was great to have tried it. It was really good. And I did that thing too, Violet, of standing up. I actually asked a musician for a microphone one time at the Brisbane Festival, and in confusion, he just gave it to me. So I just made this big announcement about something that was happening. Because, like, is it good enough for now and safe enough to try? Frick, yes. Good on you.
Hey, that's it. And I think just harkening back on that sales training sermon and something Jenny said that was really important is, you know, get the other person talking as much as you can. The more that they talk, the more invested they are, the more they feel listened to, the more they'll, you know, want to talk to you again because they're like, oh, this person really gets me. So, yeah, good one. Jenny was...
Yeah, Julie and I were in a group together, and I guess we were mainly talking about that the context is really important. We were talking about like having a pre-established context of mutuality and relationship before you need to go to ask that other group for something. You know, we have a local environment group that's campaigning against mining under the Warragamba Dam, and as part of setting up Darawal XR, we intend to approach them and offer to share their events and offer, you know, to mutually support each other, so that when we have events, then hopefully they will share our events on their Facebook page and promote us and talk about us and, you know, go to each other's meetings and things like that.
Yeah, thanks everyone. So there's a few different approaches there, which is really interesting. I love the bit of selling, collaboration, relationship forming, and lots of listening. So that's really, really lovely and varied kind of approaches. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Violet.
Thanks. All right. So basically, once we've chosen our area to mobilize, we want to give ourselves about 2 weeks between the first talk and to get engagement in that talk. So the first step is to set up your online Heading for Extinction talk in Action Network. You figure out who's going to facilitate that. You want to set up your local Facebook page. I really want to also encourage people to think about using the country that you're on as the local group name, and keep it as small as possible. And if you think that the area is going to have more than one group, what you might want to do is set it up as, for example, Darawal dolphins, Gomeroi monkeys, or whatever you want. And probably not monkeys, maybe a local animal. But either way, something that just like, if there's going to be several groups in the area, then you want to like have a little animal distinction totem maybe. Populate the page with relevant content, find rebels within the Action Network area, set up a rebel ringing campaign, email all those local rebels, and it's really handy to like send the email and then give the call and be like, hey, you might have received my email yesterday. Post events on the local green groups, local forums, and send a press release to the local radio if you think that that's appropriate. Totally can do that. Then we move into 1 week before the Heading for Extinction talk. Just more promotion as much as you can. Keep ringing around. Check in on tech confidence if it's on Zoom. Keep populating those social networks. Just be as creative as possible to get that stuff going in those 2 weeks. And then we've got the talk. So if there's a local issue, so for example, when I was in the south coast near Ulladulla, that Manana Matters, I invited Manana Matters to come and have 5 minutes at the start of the talk. And so if the talk starts at 6 p.m., at 6 p.m., Manana Matters gets on and people are filtering in from 6 till 6:05 or 6 to 6:10. That's some engaging content rather than having that like, oh, we're waiting until the thing starts. You've got stuff happening. You've got other groups sharing their space. And also, I don't know about you, but if I go to a talk that's not XR, I'm chomping at the bit to have my say about Extinction Rebellion. And I find it very difficult to concentrate if I haven't had my chance to talk about my thing that I'm passionate about. So if you create a space at the beginning for everybody to anybody who's got something that's really they're passionate about, like next week there's a petition that we need to sign or anything like that, let them get that out at the start and then they're 100% yours. Hang around afterwards because the leaders will hang around afterwards and they're you really want to connect with those. Make sure you collect the details of people at your talk. This is really important. Never walk away for a Heading for Extinction talk without having the name and number of every person who's on that at the talk, because otherwise they're just lost. You've got no way to contact them again. Be really clear on your twin tasks. I think it's really grounding for people to know that there are twin tasks because there's a lot of information. So at the very end of the day, just really ground yourself. Actions, mobilization, civil disobedience, growing the movement. And it's much stronger to have many, many small groups than big groups, because what we find with big groups is that people's voices get lost and you have sort of tailgaters and people who are not doing work. And so if you have small groups, it means that everybody's sort of pulling a little bit of weight, and then you've got, more people pulling weight than people just sort of coming along and being lost. And it's also how you get that personal connection with people as well. Every group is different, so be responsive to their needs. Send an email to the rebels within 24 hours. Link training and relevance for that working group. So we just started our XR Inner West, Marrickville, right? And then I already had prepped the NVDA training ready to go for next weekend. And then we had the first meeting and every person in the group had done civil disobedience before. And so it was like, okay, well, do I really need to spend a day giving you all direct action training when you've done it? No. Okay, so we can cancel that training. So it's, figure out what's relevant. Identify the point person coordinator as soon as possible. You do not want to be setting up the Zooms for this group. You do not want to be doing that finite internal coordinator stuff. You really, really have to be at a point where you can empower people. Advise the regional coordinators about the group. So every state has a regional coordinator local group meeting, and that's a place where you need to make sure that they're connected with that group. And identify a facilitator for the next meeting if possible. It's important, the importance of training and working groups. Party systems. Sorry, this is not, there we go. This is the one I want. So this is a rough line of where you should be heading for your group in terms of setting them up. So within this first 6 weeks, you want to have an action ready to go, right? So you want to do your heading for extinction talk, then say at the end of the talk, okay, everyone, we're going to meet back here, same place, same time next week. Then they come back, and the next week you set them up with a vision for their first action. And some people that will be, let's go and block a road. And for some people that will be, let's do a die-in at a shopping center. And you know, that spectrum is all about where they're up to in their often grief cycle, because people who are really grieving want to take the appropriate action in response to that. So that's that. Then you want to have in week 3 your NBDA training, so that people can make informed consent. Not everybody in the group will go to that, but just making sure you have enough people there to set that culture is really important. I'm sorry, this is a big dump of information, but we're almost done for the day. You're all out of here at 3:30, so thank you for your patience as I get through this. Then you have your action in week 5. And then what I found is that after people do that first action, it's really galvanized the group. The group is so happy, they're keen, they love each other, they support each other, but they're tired because doing action is exhausting. And so at that point, they're ready to move into mobilization. And so at that point you go, okay, everyone, now we're going to set up rebel ringing. Now you're all going to spend the next week calling people and telling them about the action that you did and inviting them to our next heading for extinction talk, which is in 2 weeks. Who's going to give the talk? And so on and so forth. And then they give a talk, they set up a group, you do a meeting, and the cycle just goes on and on until we get our 3 waves. Many of our active rebels may have had to take a step back due to children home engaging in support communities. Some of our resting rebels now may be ready to become more engaged due to COVID sort of coming down. So a lot of our high density populations of rebels are inactive, but they used to be groups. And so a lot of our work as mobilizers is actually remobilizing people who have already done actions, who have already been a part of the rebellion, and we just need to call them back. I remember when COVID first hit, there was a week or 2 where I completely forgot about the emergency. It was just too much for me to deal with this health crisis and the environmental crisis. And then when I saw just one thing on my feed about the climate emergency, and I was like, oh yeah, even though I had spent the last year dedicating my entire life to this movement, I still needed reawakening. And so that's what we're doing. Communication, what have we got here? Energy, enthusiasm, understanding the community, share experience and show genuine excitement about supporting and growing new groups. Treat every rebel that you meet as if they are the most important person for you to mobilize. I think that that's really important, that, you know, sometimes I even get in the habit of it. I meet, you know, maybe 50 people a week doing this work. And it's very easy to just all their faces and names blow together, and it's just like you're seeing that cycle. But really, really try and stay grounded and know their name. Really give them your attention and genuine self, because they don't know that you've met 150 people that week, you know, and be aware and respectful of new groups. A lot of what we do when we hold meetings, we hold them in the evening. However, evenings are no good for parents. So it's really important that we start to shift around the times that we hold meetings and talks to help with parents being active. Offer support, reassurance, kindness, listen, establish regular contact, and be aware of jargon. This is my jargon giraffe. So if someone's like Action Network and you don't know what Action Network is, jargon giraffe. And so it's just about being aware that when people come into this movement, there's so much to learn, and just being aware that yeah, we get a little bit caught up in that. All right. Okay, where are we going? All right, I really apologize for the information dump, but we are well ahead of schedule, which is exciting. We're all going to get an early mark. But I just want to, yay! But I want to just have a real check-in with you all about what it means to you to be a mobilizer now. And so we're going to do a whip around, and I want to get a feeling for where you're at with all of this information. So yeah, Simon, you've just unmuted yourself, so that's cool. Great.
Yeah, okay, yeah, okay. I've got, you know, I mean, I've obviously got 9 tons of information and manuals to read and download, so that's all needs to be done. But yeah, it's a role I can do. It's a role I can do. Yeah, so I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. That's great to hear.
Good.
Yeah.
As excited as I get, you know.
Yeah, and so for you, it would be like Melbourne is obviously a really hot place to mobilize. There's a lot of rebels there who have been mobilized previously.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I would love to work with you to help you get your first talk
Yeah.
going. Do you know anyone who you might be able to give a talk with, Simon?
Probably. I'll probably live with someone that could give me a hand on this.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. For us too, and we've done it a bit already, or Jane has, is basically is rural, you know, like places within 2 hours drive.
Yeah,
exactly. They sort of tend to happen faster. We found. Yeah.
Exactly.
It also gives a reason to get to Melbourne for a couple of days.
Yeah, and the best thing about mobilizing rurally is that when they're connected to the country a bit more, and so they definitely like experience the fires a bit scarier. They they see the drought, they experience that, and we're obviously about to head into a wet season, and so they will experience that as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. All right, cool. Keen for that. Who else is ready to talk about how they're mobilizing? Yeah, John, talk to me.
The slide you showed with the kind of the steps involved in starting a group and progressing towards actions quickly, I found that incredibly important. So that's the one I'll stick on the wall next to my little desk. That's fantastic, that one. So good work on that one. Nice and simple. I bet that took a lot of thinking to kind of fine tune that one. You know, that's not an easy one to think through, both from experience and also expressing it. So that's really useful to me. Like Simon, I'm raring to go. I did the presenter training on Thursday night. I'm running the first group on Monday night with a person, another person who did the training. We kind of had a bit of a talk in the training about how, if you can't always choose this, but the girl-boy thing can work pretty well with two leaders for the group and getting people engaged. So we're kind of, we're aware of those kind of issues, and we both really want to shine and have our own kind of enthusiasm and passion come through to the group and use that to connect. And we're not falling for the trap of being slavishly dependent on our slides, which I think is a risk with people when they're new to doing this. So we've done quite a lot of preparation for that. So I'm feeling pretty good about doing that. So yeah, generally I feel, I've got the methodology. I know who to call if I get into trouble. Victoria's small enough, I'm happy to do metropolitan or rural, and probably, maybe do a bit of both. just to kind of mix it up a bit. So yeah, feeling confident.
Yeah, excellent. That's so exciting. And yeah, Melbourne is so ripe for remobilizing and all around those rural areas as well. And so happy to hear that you're ready to go and doing that talk. Is that talk that you're doing, that's the state one or the national one? Oh, you muted yourself.
Yeah, I'm still pretty clever. When you say state or national, I don't even know what that question means. But yeah, I don't know. We've just been scheduled to do a talk on Monday night, so
Cass has the answer.
we'll find out.
So this is what Debbie and Jane decided, that people who came to the Train the Trainer Heading for Extinction on Thursday don't get to sit and just think about it. It's like, right, we've got these slots, who's going to fill them? Again, it's learning by doing. So
it's national?
Well, Jane presents the agreed slide deck, but you can always change it.
But in terms of the people invited are national?
Oh yeah, it's already on the national calendar. It's already up there. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So that's a little different. So we've got two. So we've got a reoccurring national one where anybody from around the country is invited, and then the Mobilizer sort of also train is to mobilize in a specific local area, and so that it's going to be a little bit different when you get to the end of that talk. You're not going to be able to like roll them into action straight away because they're not a pre-formed group. Those people are going to have to go and find a group, and so that's quite difficult. But yeah, I'm keen for you to get into your first local area as well, and it'll be a good experience to do that national talk. I might even come along.
Yep. So you point me in the right direction, I'll go. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
The rebel map is the way to go, and then you talk to people. The rebel map. You find a place that's got a whole lot of rebels. I'll give you an example. Where I live, within 20 minutes, there are 50 rebels. I only know 10 of them. So my task is to actually do rebel ringing and do a local talk and bring people together.
So I've just posted the link of the rebel map, and I'm gonna take you all through it once we finish this whip around, and so you can see it live. It's really annoying, but we're gonna do it. Okay, who else wants to have a talk about being a mobilizer? Yeah, Leslie.
Yeah, I feel like there needs to be two of me to do this. I don't know if that's because I have, like I've said earlier, some health concerns, but it'd be good to find someone local to share the role with, because yeah, I don't know that I could do all of that. It might be a bit too much for me. So I'll kind of ask around in my group and see if there's anybody who wants to take on sharing the load with being a mobilizer. Yeah.
And there are some very powerful rebels in your group.
Yeah, there are.
You're not going to be short of competent hands, and you can just help disseminate this information to them.
Yep. Yeah. I'll be certainly asking around, but it's very exciting, and like John, I love the visual, lists and all the things, the steps to go through. You don't feel like you have to work it all out on your own, so that's good. I haven't been part of Mattermost, but I'm getting the feeling I need to be, that's part of the big chat. And I'm in Signal for our local group and whatnot, but yeah, I'll get on to Mattermost. It might help me feel a bit more supported.
Yeah, so all the current mobilizers are all connected on Mattermost on a private channel.
Yep.
And so we can connect you all onto there as well.
That's it.
Yay. And
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for being so wonderful with all this training. It's really helpful and inspiring.
Great. So good to hear. Thanks. Julie, yes, yeah.
I guess just to put a point, maybe it's not the right time, but that just Leslie's point about having kind of a buddy. We've talked about that, like having, because it's a wonderful task, but it is a big task, and there's no, I don't think it's a good idea to say it's not, because then we get unrealistic expectations of ourselves that we can do it all and keep doing it all. So the whole concept of the support network, and we have a meeting each week on a Thursday morning where we actually just get together and chat about the week and look at any, and that's a beautiful time because we all know exactly how it feels, and we hopefully at that time can actually provide some specific support if people need it, with resources or with emotional support or with just a listening ear or with something really practical. So it's really, you just start growing that group of beautiful people that nourish each other. So
exactly. And I couldn't do it without, as Kath has put down, my little rebel buddy. He's Andy, but he's gone at the moment. South. I know. All alone in the world.
But as far as mobilizing, just sorry to hop it, like I think now, like a year ago, the task felt much less clear, the task of Extinction Rebellion and what the plan is. And now there is a very clear plan, and it's much easier to communicate, and it is much, you know, it's an ongoing plan, it's steps. And I think that is incredibly helpful to be able to mobilize, and these incredible materials that are all put together as well. So,
exactly.
Good reason to do it.
Yeah, I think each time I've got involved with anything like this, you know, on a Zoom meeting, whether I've watched something going on in the UK or spoken to Violet recently or spoken to my local rebels recently, going through it time and time again makes it become less, it becomes more clear every time we do it. More flowing, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Does anyone else want to talk about being a mobilizer? Yeah, go for it.
It's like being an influencer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Not sure I have enough followers to be an influencer.
I don't even know how it works.
Exactly. You know, but that is something though. You could approach people in your community who you think are influencers and target them to at least support the movement, even if they wouldn't be involved, you know. But if they understand what it is, they can put the word in, maybe.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, we need nearly 100% of people. If someone goes, oh, that bloody XR people, you know, they're a pack of rebel, you know, they shouldn't do that. But we'll have mobilized beautifully if most people respond by saying, well, what they're actually after is good. I wouldn't do what they're doing, but what they're after is very, very reasonable. So, you know, I'm not going to join them or anything, but, you know, anyway.
Yeah. And I'm hearing that more and more, you know, people go, oh yeah, I really appreciate your values, but you know, I just wouldn't want to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what we saw with the suffragettes movement as well.
Yeah.
You know, people were like, I don't agree with their tactics, but I think that women should get the vote. But women wouldn't have the vote without their tactics. And so there's this cognitive dissonance on how effective civil disobedience is. But anyway.
And what we're asking people to understand is way more, good one. What we're asking people to understand is way more complex, you know, than those things. But, you know, that's part of the thing. Yeah.
The reception, you know, I've done a few police liaison roles now for actions, and the reception from the police when you get there early and first greet them is just so good. And that's people like Violet and others just having sweet talk the hell out of them. They know what it's about. They know how it's different than the people that are protesting against masks. They feel really comfortable, you know, negotiating what's going to happen. They feel really comfortable about who you are, and, you know, that you're really being accountable for your relationship with them, and, you know, for communicating with the leaders. So, you know, it's a very important aspect of mobilisation, really, is getting the police on board. And the last few occasions, you know, I've had not only support for our strategy, but for support for the cause as well, you know, overtly saying, yeah, we get it, you know.
Yeah, and for me, that relationship with police is really about keeping rebels safe. That's the most important thing to me, is that we want to keep each other safe. And so by the only thing more, the most dangerous thing to me is a police officer who feels unsafe, because when they feel unsafe, we are unsafe. And so if we have a relationship where they know that we're non-violent and that we do what we say and say what we do, then that keeps us safe, which is privilege, but also my highest priority. How are you feeling, Tanya?
Yeah, good.
Yeah. How do you feel about, I know that you've come in as in the last session of 3 modules today. So I'm not sure, how does the information feel to you coming in for just this session?
Yeah, it feels fine. I mean, I had read a lot of material about setting up a group, a similar ecological group, but not XR groups, but transition towns, which are extensively documented, and they talk a lot about how to set up groups and group dynamics and building relationships with other groups and all that kind of stuff. So it's even though I'm new to how XR is presenting it, the material is very similar. I'm sure there's, because it also originated in England, I'm sure a lot of the intellectual property is the same. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. I'm excited to get ringing in to see what happens. And
Yeah.
Fantastic. Yay. That's so good. And yeah, getting ringing is just one of the most powerful things you can do, is making those individual connections. All right, I'm just going to do one quick thing, which is just show you this map. So what I want to do, go away. Yeah. So if we have a look here, so you've got this sort of situation. We're in New South Wales. What's this dense area here? Zip code 2430. Does anyone recognize that area? 2430. It's huge. It's in the yellow. Okay. It's a really hard thing to use. Go. No. There we go. So you gotta zoom all the way out.
2430 is Tari.
Tari. Oh, that's surprising. We just did a whole bunch of mobilizing in Tari. All right, let's have a look what's happening up here. Oh, look at this huge red dot. What possibly area could that be? Postcode 2480. Do you recognize that postcode, Daisy?
Lismore.
Is that around your area? Lismore? Look at that, 361 rebels in that one postcode, 2480.
Also includes Nimbin, so.
Yeah, there you go. Let's have a look. Let's go down to Melbourne. Let's go have a look down there. You've got to zoom all the way out and then click where you want to zoom in. Zoom. Okay, what's happening over here? 3350, 194 sign-ups in that one postcode. 3342. Oh, there's some hot areas to mobilize out here. It's got to be, there's some 5246. So in that area, there's 100 rebels.
All right, you've got me salivating, Violet. How do I get the map?
I've just posted it on the chat.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's have a look. Where are we? Let's go to Queensland.
Hey, Violet, there was another table that went with this one last time you showed this map, and did it actually
this one
have?
Here?
No, it was the page before this one, and you said, and you click there, and it'll bring you to a map. I just wonder.
Oh yeah, okay.
If that page, what table that was, and is there anywhere we can just have every postcode with a number by it, because the zooming in and out is actually quite hard, isn't it?
It is so annoying. It could be.
The zooming in and out is hard, and it's also hard to, like, I found it really hard to find Cronulla on the map.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hear you. And I also hate it. That's just the tool that we have. And I'm so grateful for that. But there's this page here. It doesn't, all it's got is the states.
Right.
Unfortunately. Okay. But the other thing is that this is, so you go here, so that's on the base. So I'll just paste that in our chat.
We have got the 50 hotspots list though.
We do have a 50 hotspots list, and this information is all something that we can we zone in on in the Mobilizer meetings, which happen on Thursday mornings. So I'm going to ask you a question in a minute, which is very important, but first we'll go to Jenny.
Yeah, I just wondered if on every single time you call a rebel, you could check that their postcode is correct, because some of those hotspots aren't actual hotspots. They were people who were putting the data in and just used one postcode for the whole entry of something if they didn't know the postcode. So just that if that was on, like, you know, that flow chart of talking to different rebels about things, checking the postcode could be good.
We can update Action Network, and eventually what will happen is that Call Hub will feed information back to Action Network, and then it will be really easy to write notes in there. Clarification, Cass?
Yeah, apparently there is a way of starting to set that up now if you do it state by state. So now that we're getting call hubs for every state, and it's not all going back, campaigns aren't just going through Victoria, we can actually feed some tagged stuff back through to our own Action Network. So if I call and it's campaign for Tassie, it'll go back to Tassie's Action Network. So I'll be able to go change post, well, not change postcode necessarily, but there'll be, you can make notes apparently. That's part of the Zoom tomorrow with Debbie. She understands all that stuff because they set it up that way in South Australia, I believe.
Exactly. So what I'd like you to do now is open the chat, and if you are interested in being a mobilizer, please type, "I am a mobilizer." Excellent. Yay!